Not until Okinawa did we really start convincing some of them to surrender. It was something that, and they, and I can say it that maybe it wasn't that much, but we didn't take prisoners either, and we couldn't because we couldn't trust them.
Right.
It wasn't that we weren't willing to, but we didn't know.
Did some come out maybe hiding a grenade or something?
Yes, or they would come out from the caves, and this is what some of the things that were horrific. They would come up so many caves, and on. They learned this on Iwo Jima, and they put it into effect in Okinawa, of the caves and defending instead of only once did they have, once or twice did they have a banzai charge, so you call them, that they come out to. But they were very rare now after that. But the casualties were so tremendous.
Did you deal with any civilians getting them out of caves?
That was the most pathetic thing. It was the saddest thing to me, having been growing up with a big family. And the other thing, you asked me before about discrimination. You know, I grew up with Japanese kids. There was on the outskirts of what is now East Los Angeles College, all that used to be agricultural. All that used to be Japanese. The kids there went to grammar school, and in our neighborhood they went to Garfield High School. And so some of them I grew up with, some of them I knew. And our country is so big, and at that time a lot of the East Coast or up in the Northeast, they never had met Japanese. They never knew Japanese. And I used to tell them, well, they're very nice guys.
Yeah.
They were just as loyal as anybody. And they were very, very good friends. So I used to tell them. In Okinawa, the Okinawa people were of a shorter stature than the Japanese, and very kind, and very. I just felt so bad seeing so many of them killed, and we couldn't help it. It was war, I guess.
But they were afraid of you too.
They'd
been taught that you're devils.
They would run.
Yeah.
They would run, and you could see it. They were just unbelievably. You could see it in their faces. But later on, when we took the northern part and we were able to segregate a lot of the civilians, and we took them to camp where they were camped and they were fed, they started believing that we weren't the beast that they had been told we were. So it's a different.
Sure. Yeah. And being a machine gunner, that made you a target.
Well, fortunately, like I say, because I was not infantry, we were the protection to our batteries.
Oh, I see.
So we were up front, but we weren't taking over pillboxes.
Gotcha.
And although we did we went out a lot on patrols, we did do a lot of, but it was something that is, the thing that you're asking me is true, because their defenses was like no other, maybe, I don't know, Iwo Jima, as any other island in the Pacific, the Marianas and the Solomons and all those. This was defenses. We were already on the doorstep of Japan, and we were going to pay a price.
Yeah.
And it was just constantly horrific. And machine guns, they would target it. And that's the other thing that if anybody that served on Okinawa will tell you, it seemed like they were looking down on us. Every time we just move, you'd think you'd move. Somebody would be looking because they had the high ground. And it was very tragic, very tragic.
Was there snipers?
Oh, there was. You would be surprised sometimes that people would get killed without knowing where it was coming from. But there was. It was entirely. It was a prelude of what we would meet in November of that year if the war hadn't ended. We were going to invade Japan.
Right.
And that is something that was just that they were fighting for their homeland.
Right.
And by that time we were overwhelming. We had decimated them. And as happy I was that it ended when it did, it was long in coming. It's a good thing it ended. When they dropped the bombs, we didn't care.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't realize, the magnitude of what it was. We didn't know what an atomic bomb was or how many people had been killed. And an 18, 19-year-old, all you know is it's over.
Yeah.
What happened was we used to have big cans of grapefruit juice, and they were tin cans camouflaged in a dark green paint, dull.
Okay, yeah.
And the medics, the corpsmen, we didn't call them, the Navy corpsmen had alcohol, and they would dilute it into these grapefruit, and they gave it to 18, 19-year-olds. It was crazy. They got drunk, and they were happy. I never drank some. Not until I got home. Not until I got home. But when we heard that they had dropped these bombs and the war was soon be over, we were so happy.
I bet.
So happy. A lot of those men, a lot of my buddies, older guys, had been there overseas for over 2 years. They didn't have the rotation that they have now. That they couldn't. It was such a tremendous big war that you couldn't. So they were over there for months and months and months. Well, I was over there for almost a year and a half, or almost 2 years. So.
Did you experience mortar fire also, personally,
artillery. We had the biggest artillery duel in the Pacific, which wasn't comparable to Europe. It wasn't anything like it. But for a little island, when you're stationed on a little island and you have the biggest artillery duel, believe me, you're gonna get plastered, and we did. Mortars, every so often. The thing is that they would do it at times when we could not detect them, because our planes and our mortars, artillery would just demolished everything.
Right.
So they were very cunning in that, but we did have a lot of mortars. That was one of their favorite weapons of defense, because they would always be on the other side of the hill throwing mortars at you.
You had no way of knowing.
No way of knowing. So it was. I don't know. I didn't realize that how much later on the amount of people that perished in that campaign. There's something. It hadn't been in all the Pacific War. We had from from the Solomons to the Marianas to the Kwajalein, Tarawa. That's when I think I went over just about the Tarawa, during the Tarawa. We were losing a lot of young boys, and it was just horrific. There's something that, I don't know.